There's 4 stages to a career. There's finding the job, making that job a career, excelling in your career, and then giving back. I'm in the giving back stage trimester of my career. I want to be able to be known as somebody who cared enough about the industry that gave back to the industry that gave me so much, that allowed other kids to, now the next generation, like my daughter, take over and lead where I left off and do better than I did.
8:30 last night, I figured out how we're starting this conversation, David. There's no warm-ups. So I sat down with Teresa. She invited me to her happy hour for Ferber last night. I'm standing in the Ferber. I'm having a conversation. Out of my left periphery, I see you. You're having a conversation. I'm like, oh, that's cool. And I wasn't going to leave my conversation and come, although I love our conversations. And then out of my right, I see your daughter.
Oh, well, listen, you can't have a better way to start the segue.
Standing at the bar. Now, we can probably talk about whether her mom knows that you were taking her to the bar, but we won't get to that today. But I see her. So how cool is it that you're doing that type of event with your daughter? Here's a proud. I'm sending you a proud papa softball right now.
All right, this is great softball because my daughter started in the industry a year ago, right after this coming weekend, right? So for me, it's been a journey. We were on a panel at ICSC yesterday.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that. I would have sat in that if I could.
So it was a generational panel, right? It was boomers to zoomers, it was called. And it was, how does this generation
Did they really just call you a boomer and say,
right?
Will you sign up for this?
Yes, they did. And sitting next to my daughter in an ICSC panel, it's like a dream come true, right? You want your kids to do better than you do. And I will go on forever on this, but to have my daughter talking shop, we just got back from Toronto on Saturday. So we were killing time before we had to go to the airport, and we went into a mall. And for the first time, I'm not asking her about her homework and asking her if she changed the oil in her car and all the things that you do as a dad. We were talking shop as we're walking through the mall. So how
are you
cool
discussing cap rates?
We're discussing how these stores are laid out and how they're doing the facade and their signage and how they're bringing you to the mall, how it's inviting, and talking retail. So we're talking shop. It was so incredible. It was so much fun to just see her grow up. You remember them as just a blink yesterday when they were in diapers, and then all of a sudden they're an adult and you're talking shop. And I was like, wow, she actually kind of knows what she's talking about. This is crazy. So I just hope she continues to excel in this wonderful business that is people-driven, is relationship-driven, and we're just the luckiest people on earth to be in this industry, in this business. And I've been doing this now, it's my 35th year. I'm wrapping up my 35th year, and she's wrapping up her first. And segue a little bit, we both went to Florida State together. Not together, but apart, 34 years apart. But we did the Trends Conference that they do at Florida State. Couple years ago, I sat in the same classroom with the same professor in the same building in the same university having the same class together 34 years apart. For me, that was a surreal moment, and that one brought that was a tearjerker for me. Coming out with the same professor who looked younger than I do still. And
you're like, what's your secret?
I wonder. You didn't have to work hard in this industry. That's the secret.
I started 6'4" in this industry. Yeah.
But that was really that moment that changed my view of this is real and this is happening. And it was very, very cool.
So legacy is a big deal for you.
It is a big deal.
It's a big deal. And so that's pretty cool that you get to see it from a bloodline perspective. But what do you want this industry to say about David Gabbai when you step away? And I'm not listen, they're the ones calling you boomers. I'm not saying that, but when you say
there will be a time when I decide. Actually, I'll not decide. It'll decide for me. When I have passed along 35 years of of knowledge, 35 years of grinding out deals. I just want the industry to say he was a fair and a good guy, and he gave back. And to me, giving back, I mentor the students at FSU, like I said, and I said there's 4 stages to a career. There's finding the job, making that job a career, excelling in your career, and then giving back. I'm in the giving back stage trimester of my career where I'm giving back, and that he gave back to allow another kid who started like I did out of nowhere to be able to give advice and kind of direct them in the right direction in their career. That's all I care about. It's not he did 800 restaurants and he did this and he did that. I want to be able to be known as somebody who cared enough about the industry that gave back to the industry that gave me so much, that allowed other kids to, now the next generation, like my daughter, take over and lead where I left off and do better than I did.
Last time we sat down, had lunch, we talked about that moment from job to career. So there's obviously, there was I don't know how many college students were here. I think I saw probably 50 or 60, I would guess, at this show, which is phenomenal. It wasn't that many years ago that there would be a half dozen. What do you tell the person who's got their first job? Maybe they've been in it for a couple of years. What's the criteria? How do you talk them into saying, okay, you can't view this as a job anymore? What's the encouragement you give them to flip that switch?
Well, they have to love what they're doing, right? If you don't love what you're doing, it's work. If you love what you're doing, it's a career, and yes, it's always going to have ups and downs and bumps and along the way. But the trajectory is never going to be a straight line, but it's always going to be up. And how you get there is your story. That's the story that you tell 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when they're sitting at this microphone and telling that story, how they got there. And I just encourage them that there's no such thing as a bad question. If you don't know, ask. I asked a question in a meeting today. I'm 35 years into the business. I'm like, what the hell does that mean? And nobody looked at me like I had 3 eyes.
Yeah.
They're like, Gabbai, you should know this, but this is what it means. And I encourage them that while you're young and you don't have any responsibilities, you may have a car payment, you have a rent payment, you're not married, you don't have kids. While you're young is when you're going to learn. That time suck, be learning. Be that sponge, ask the questions, be the first in the office, the last to leave, because that's when you're really going to get noticed, and that's when
investment.
Make the investment in yourself,
yes,
in your career to excel. If I'm a sports guy, I always kind of been competitive, and for me, it's second best was not good enough, right? And I know it's not, it's frowned upon these days, but how you get there is you get out of it what you put into it, and so put into it a lot, and you'll get out of it a lot.
Yeah, I agree. It really is making that investment in yourself. I think you can. I don't know what the rate of return calculation was from the hours that I spent, but I made an investment that paid off ultimately. I think that's great advice. So, at what stage do you say, okay? Here, I'll speak for me. I feel like I should have maybe entered that give back stage a little bit earlier. And I think that's something we're talking about as an industry. You hit on it a moment ago, work-life balance, which I've had several conversations with some very successful people, been very fortunate to have those conversations, but I read the one thing by founder Keller Williams, and he talks about work-life counterbalance.
Yeah, you told me that.
Yes.
We shared that.
And so how have you, because you've been authentic with me and said I didn't always do this well. So how have you gotten to that space at 35 years in where you're like, all right, I'm gonna have that counterbalance. How are you navigating that?
It's very difficult to navigate, right? Because you want to go. Instinctively, you just want to go, and you want to excel. You're a deal junkie, and to get grounded and to have yourself go into that work-life balance mode is not easy to transition to. And I'll be honest with you, I'm still transitioning. I'm not I'm not there yet. But my wife is forcing me to be there. So my wife retired almost 4 years ago, And she is now trying to push me into that mode of, we need to take that vacation and we need to spend time together while we're still able to walk upright and still sleep in a bed and wake up without a backache, and we can do something tomorrow. So financially, we're capable of doing that now, thank goodness. And we're taking the next steps to do that. So the travel is going to become more, the spending the time together is going to become more. Right before ICSC, I had a family event in Toronto. I would never have done that before.
How was the bar mitzvah?
It was phenomenal. It was great, and it was fun to spend time with my family. But we flew in, we came back. My wife comes back tonight. She stayed extra to spend some time with my family there. So I wasn't able to, but had it not been for ICSC, I would have stayed longer. Yeah. And because there's no ideal time to take that time off, right? You can time it any way you want. There's always going to be something that gets in the way of it or a reason to say no. Find the reason to say yes. And that's where my mindset is now. Find the reason to say yes, let's do that. Let's encourage, let's get that done. So I'm still learning. It's not been easy.
So we were talking about we talked about a conversation, hypomanic edge. You just hit on it. Drive, go, 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 go. All of those different things. You also told me that you picked up you set a random goal. Just by the way, that's totally a hypomanic thing, where you said I'm gonna weigh my high school weight. You're looking lean. Are we there?
We're not quite there
almost
yet. So we are, as of this morning, because I had 2 long dinners. We're 4 pounds away.
I feel like ICSC set us all back. Yes.
We're 4 pounds away. We were 2 pounds away when I left for Toronto, though. So we're 4 pounds away. We're almost there. But, these next few days going into the long weekend, there's not going to be a lot of food in the Gabbai household.
Thanks, Capital Grill. Thanks right. To all those great steak places. But that's a random goal.
It's a random goal.
It's a random goal. What are the other random goals that David Gabbai set since the last time we talked about? Because I guarantee there's one.
If my wife sees this and I really admit to it, then I could get in real trouble. But I'm a car nut. I love cars. And sometimes, I have a bucket list of cars that I want. And when they come up, sometimes you just have to pull the trigger. So she's gonna kill me. But I'm eyeing a car right now.
Okay.
I bought one in December, so it's not time yet. But I wouldn't say it's a goal, but it's a passion.
Yeah.
But I think a random goal for me is taking the time to read more books that I want to read that are intuitive to where my life is going. You were so kind enough to give me one right after we discussed it when we were hiking in Utah, and I came home to a book that you gave to me that I've started to dig into, and I've because of you, I've set that goal is to read the books that I want to read.
Great, I fed a hypomanic. I feel like that. I'm guilty,
and I'm so ADD that I can't sit for more than 10 minutes and read something. So I force myself to do it. So I've gotten through 3/4 of one book that has nothing to do with business or anything. It's just a book that interests me, and I'm one of those guys who will start one book and another, and I'll have 3 going at any given time because that's the manic in me. But but I love it. But that is a goal. That is my goal. The reading thing is a goal for me.
So I had to find that because I was always moving too fast. That felt too slow. But once I jump started my brain, I was like, oh, I have to feed this, and that's obviously another real sign of the manic in me. I really there's so much that I want to get into. I know you have a meeting to get to, but David, I absolutely appreciate you coming and spending some time with me today.
When you sent out the invite, I said I am not missing this. This is going to be too cool. I've gotten to know you just in a short period of time, and we're kindred spirits. And your energy is addicting, and
that's what my wife says.
It's addicting when somebody comes across somebody with an energy level and a drive, and the way you go about. And I don't know how you do it. The way you go about doing your business and really making people feel special. and there's a lot of them out there, not just me, but I feel like I'm the only person in Nate's life. And when you're able to do that dozens of times over, it's a gift.
No,
and
I
and I
appreciate that. I appreciate those kind words. And I really think what's interesting is I have sat across the table from some wonderful people, and I would categorize you as one of those things.
It's kind of you to say.
But it was just a reminder. We have an absolutely amazing organization. I have another friend in JLL, so there is another person in my life, and he may work for JLL. But he was having a conversation with somebody who's not from Florida, and he goes, "It's the weirdest thing. You guys like each other." And at the end of the day, I've made up my mind that the industry needs my competitors to be successful.
I feel the same way.
We need the industry to do well, and sometimes that's not just ours, but water raises all boats. And so I want Colliers, and I was joking with Alex Evans, by the way. He didn't give me dirt. I asked him. He was like, no, not a chance. I'm giving you any dirt on David. But
there's a lot of dirt there, though.
No, I know. He alluded. No, I'm just kidding. But we need Colliers to be successful. We need JLL to be successful. We need all these groups to be successful because it's good for the industry. And so our goal with this is to highlight how amazing of a group of individuals that we have access to on a regular basis to make our industry strong here.
And I will add to that in that some of my best friends are my competitors, my direct competitors, right? We're going after the same clients. But when they need information and they need something to help them succeed, and I didn't get the account and he did, I'll congratulate him after I punch him in the nose.
Yeah.
But or her. But
I'll hit a girl.
I have no problems if it's for in competition, friendly competition. But I will absolutely be their advocate, and I will absolutely help them along the way, and they will do the same for me. My best friends are my competitors out of necessity, because you spend so many hours working not only in the office with your direct family, that's my second family in the office, but with other people on the opposite sides of the fence and in negotiating deals. And we share information, and that's the beauty of this industry. The relationships that that come out, I don't know of any other industry that's like it. And I want them to do well. I want them, I don't want them to do better than I do.
Yeah, and I actually told somebody
to do well, right?
Not better than me, but I want to do okay.
God forbid, my ego can't. There's no room there for another ego. It has to be mine. But I love it when people collaborate and we work together. And from the developers in this industry that have been truly just great to work with, to competing brokers, to guys like you who are making the product come out of the ground. And there's the guys who build it, and there's the guys who broker it, and you're in between. You fill that space in between. So it's just a wonderful industry that we're able to touch from so many different angles and grab from so many different directions, and so many different under the umbrella of what we call real estate, that the disciplines that are there, and you can learn. And I know I could pick up the phone and ask you a question that I don't know, and you'll be happy to answer me, even though you're not on that account or you're not on that project, right? So that's where these relationships are formed, and I hope when the time comes that I hang it up, that those relationships continue into friendships beyond the lighted stage that we're all under. Right? It's important, and they do. My friends are outside of the industry, like when we go hiking. It's a friendly thing, right? Even though the competitors are all there. But that's where we get to know each other, and the windshield time, I call it, is important.
Absolutely. Well, I'll let you get to your meeting. Go sign a deal, and maybe we can be part of. No, I'm just kidding. That was shallow plug. Appreciate you, David.
Thank you so much.